Assalamu alaikum. How are you all? All okay? Okay, our story for today in story time is about importance of patience and thankfulness. Once upon a time, long, long ago, in some country, a very poor man used to live with his wife and children. He used to roam here and there in search of work to provide for his family. He was so poor that neither he had a house to live in nor he had food to eat. But still he never complained to Allah. Whatever he used to get, he managed in those means with patience and thankfulness. One day, in search of work, he was wandering near the border of some country when he came to know that the king of that country has passed away. The wise men of that country decided that whoever is the first one to enter the country will be our new king. It so happened, by the grace of Allah, that this poor man was also standing on the border of this country, thinking that maybe he will get some better arrangement of food and shelter for his family in that country. It was like Allah had answered all the prayers of this poor man, and suddenly he became king of that country. One thing that did not change in him after so many years was the habit of being thankful to Allah, no matter if he was going through a difficult time or was comfortable. And then he became king of the whole country, but still he said all his prayers on time, and all the time he remained thankful to Allah. One day, the king tried to hold the glass to drink water, but it slipped out of his hands. Still, it did not break. When the king saw this, he started crying vigorously. He sat on the floor and raised his hands in prayer and said, "O my Allah, what kind of test is this, that till yesterday I had neither shelter nor food, and now you are so kind that you didn't even let the glass break. My Allah does not want me to bear the loss of even a broken glass." Many years passed like this, and then a neighboring country waged war on them, and the king lost the war. And the poor king had to flee from his country. King took his wife and kids and started traveling with a caravan. They kept walking for hours and hours, and by evening his youngest son started crying of hunger. He tried to distract the child a lot, but the hungry child kept on crying. The small child, who can't even talk, can only tell you by crying that he's hungry. A soft-hearted woman who was traveling with them saw this and extended her hand to give a piece of bread to this child, but a hungry dog sitting nearby snatched it. Watching this scene, the king smiled and looked up at the sky. When his wife saw this, that the king is smiling, she said, "What a cruel father you are! Your son is crying of hunger. The only piece of bread we got was snatched by the dog, and you are smiling?" When the king heard this, he again sat on the ground humbly, raised his hand in prayer, and said, "O my beloved Allah, what kind of test is this? There was a time when you did not want me to bear the loss of even a broken glass, but now this, that my son is crying of hunger. There was only one piece of bread, but even that was snatched by the dog. Indeed, it is only you who tests his servants like this." When the soldiers of attacking army standing nearby heard this, they went to their king. And when he heard all this, you know what happened? His heart was filled with fear of Allah. He got really afraid and promptly returned the country to its king. See, if you remain steadfast and thankful to Allah and keep believing in Him, He never burdens His servants more than He could endure. And if he burdens you or tests you, then he rewards you greatly in return. His pious men never complain, but they pray and ask for his help to overcome those difficulties.